It happened on a Sunday evening, right after choir practice. Mary's trembling voice whispered, "Please, stop." But he didn't listen. Pastor David, the man everyone called a man of God, forced himself on her in his office, locking the door and ignoring her cries. This is not where her story starts, but it's the moment that shattered everything she believed. Mary's voice soared above the church congregation, clear and angelic. At 19, she was known as the Songbird of Grace, and the community adored her. Every Sunday, her voice would lead worship at the Light of Grace Church, a place that held not just her faith, but her family's hopes. She lived with her widowed mother, Mom Nkechi, in a cramped apartment by the bustling marketplace. Mom Nkechi, who sold fruits to support them, often spoke of how Pastor David's sermons gave her strength. "That man is truly called by God," she would say, her voice brimming with admiration. Pastor David was a towering figure in their lives. Charismatic and eloquent, he commanded respect in the community. To question him was almost unthinkable. But behind closed doors, his charm hid a darker side. Mary had noticed his growing attention. At first, it was innocent, compliments about her voice, offers to pray for her. Then came the private meetings, the lingering touches on her shoulder, and the unsettling comments. "You are special, Mary," he would say, "chosen by God." It happened on a Sunday evening, right after choir practice. Pastor David asked Mary to meet him in his office. "I need to discuss something important," he said. Mary hesitated but didn't want to seem disobedient. As soon as she entered, he locked the door. His demeanor changed. He spoke of divine plans and secrets ordained by God. When Mary tried to leave, he grabbed her, his words turning sinister. "God has chosen you for this," he whispered. Mary's whispered pleas were ignored. When it was over, she stumbled out of the church, her body trembling, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and despair. That night, she lay staring at the ceiling, unable to pray. Was God angry with her? Had she done something wrong? Mary stopped attending church, her absence quickly noticed. Mom Nkechi questioned her, but Mary only muttered excuses about school. Soon, the community began to whisper. "Why hasn't Mary been coming to church?" one elder asked. "She's probably lost her way," another speculated. Mary overheard her mother speaking with a neighbor. Pastor David said Mary needs prayers. Such a good man, always looking out for her. Mary felt sick. How could he paint himself as the victim? Amid the whispers, there were silent allies. Sister Chinyere, an older choir member, slipped a note into Mary's hand one day at the market. "I believe you. Be strong." Mary confided in her best friend, Amina, a fiery law student known for challenging injustice. Amina listened in stunned silence before speaking. "This isn't your fault, Mary. We need to report him." Terrified, Mary resisted. "No one will believe me. He's a pastor." Amina shared her own story. "When I was 15, a teacher tried the same thing. I stayed silent, and he hurt others. We won't let that happen again." Together, they approached the police. The officers were dismissive. One muttered, "This is a waste of time." Amina's eyes blazed. "If you won't act, I'll make sure the press knows." Reluctantly, they opened a case. The news spread like wildfire. At Sunday service, Pastor David addressed the congregation. "This is an attack from the devil," he declared. "They want to destroy God's work." The church was divided. Some members blindly defended him, while others began to question his integrity. Mom Nkechi was devastated. "Why would Mary lie?" she sobbed. "But how can Pastor David?" Mary felt isolated. But as the trial approached, more women came forward, emboldened by her bravery. The courtroom buzzed with tension. Pastor David's defense lawyer tried to discredit Mary. "Did you wear something provocative?" Mary's voice trembled, but she held her ground. "It doesn't matter what I wore. He had no right." The turning point came when the former church secretary testified, revealing years of suppressed allegations. The jury was visibly shaken. When the verdict was read, guilty, Mary felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. Justice had been served, but the scars remained. Back at home, Mom Nkechi struggled. Pastor David had been a pillar of her faith, and the revelations left her shaken. She reflected on Mary's withdrawn behavior, the pastor's overly familiar interest, and the shame her daughter had endured in silence. One night, Mom Nkechi sat beside Mary, her voice trembling. "I should have seen the signs," she said. "I failed you, my child. Forgive me." Tears flowed as they embraced. For the first time, Mary felt her mother's unwavering support. Pastor David's conviction sent shockwaves through the church. His loyalists clung to their denial, labeling Mary and the other victims as liars. Some families left the church, unable to reconcile the betrayal. The church elders convened emergency meetings, desperately trying to salvage the congregation's trust. Sister Chinyere took a stand. "This church must atone for its silence," she said during a meeting. "We ignored the warning signs. Never again." The Light of Grace Church began a slow transformation, implementing reforms to protect its members. But the community's faith in organized religion was fractured. Years later, Mary stood before a group of young women in a community center, her voice steady. "Your pain does not define you," she said. "Your voice can change the world." Her words carried the weight of experience, inspiring others to speak out. Mama Nkechi, now her greatest supporter, often joined Mary at these events, sharing her own story of regret and redemption. Mary's tale became a modern parable, warning against blind faith and the dangers of unchecked power. It also championed the strength of truth and the courage to speak out, no matter the odds. So guys, this is where I am going to be ending this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.